Good evening. I am Freddy Vazquez, and this is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight is Monday, July 25th, 2022. Join me. Good evening, folks. I am Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, the gun violence. And more news around the city of Yonkers and Westchester County. Let's talk about it. Good evening, folks. I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Welcome. Thank you for watching. Tonight, I just want to go over a couple things, specifically about the gun violence that we have been seeing here in the city of Yonkers. And also, I want to mention, just a little bit of why, I do basement politics and why, I mentioned some of the things that I mentioned in reports, and I want to just be very clear. I'm not here to be disrespectful or offensive to anyone. Anyway, tonight I wanted to mention a few things in regards to basement politics. My objective is to hold elected officials accountable and anyone receiving taxpayer money accountable and hold them responsible for what they do. No one is perfect, right? No one's perfect. I get that. I'm not perfect. And I never said I was. Not perfect. Not you, not I, and not the politicians. No one's perfect. However, the difference is the politicians are held to a much higher standard, right? They're held to a different standards than you and I. They have been entrusted with certain responsibilities and obligations that they've committed to. And now they're, obligated to get done. Not only are they obligated to conduct themselves in an honest and trustworthy manner, right? They are also supposed to put the constituents' interest first, always. That is their priority, right? They also get paid for that. They also get paid to do the right thing, represent their constituents, the voters, in the best possible way. And they are held to certain standards. They have certain responsibilities, certain obligations as an elected official or any official who is working for or paid by the city, which is ultimately paid by the taxpayers here in the city. So we must hold them accountable and ensure that they're doing their jobs, especially if we're paying for them. Especially if we notice that they're not and they're falling short. Many would agree that they have failed us in many ways. And so basement politics is here to hold them accountable. In doing so, I must report and talk about what is happening in the city of Yonkers, especially and specifically with matters that concern the community at large. While I may poke fun at the politicians, I try to maintain a level of respect for them, or at least as much as they respect the constituents. When it comes to non-officials or the residents, I maintain a level of respect when reporting any news information provided to me by sources or provided to my team. While I give my opinion, it's usually in criticism of those in the position to make an impact, but fail to do so. And I mean by in a position, meaning an elected official, or they're paid to do it, or they're put in a certain position over an agency or organization. With that being said, as always, I welcome people to reach out and correct any mistakes or any information that I may provide on basement politics that could be incorrect or that is incorrect, because I do want to make sure that I provide the news information as accurate as possible and that I give everyone, especially those involved in any story I may be covering, the opportunity to express themselves, put out their side. So I always welcome people to do that, and you can always reach out to me. So anyway, moving on, I wanted to talk about gun violence. Gun violence here in the city of Yonkers. I just, I'm learning some interesting new things here. Several sources actually reached out to me today. It's interesting. Everybody's kind of the same, not at the same time, but just in the same day, in regards to an incident that happened with a man that was pinned by his own vehicle. According to sources, the man was en route possibly to retaliate for the shootings that had happened on Locust and School Street. That's what sources are saying. The individual got out of his vehicle and the vehicle began to roll. According to sources and people I spoke to, he tried to stop the vehicle from rolling, and he got pinned in between the car. The man is actually now in the hospital, and he is on life support. So my condolences and prayers, because at the end of the day, we don't ever want anyone to get hurt, regardless of what the situation is. So we always, send our prayers and condolences to family members. Someone's always, in pain and dealing with it and is a victim somehow. But the individual, according to sources, was on his way to retaliate. He may have had a gun, I believe, according to sources, and police recovered the gun. And now the man is in the hospital. I heard this from several sources. I don't know, all the details, but these are sources, that I reached out to that are close to, the officials, and they should have information that it should be, correct most of the time anyway. And so I wanted to put it out there because, it's important that we know what's actually happening. This is involving the incident, the gun violence and stuff that's been happening in the city, particularly the incident last weekend, the few incidents that happened that left 6 people shot, 3 different incidents, although police are saying 2 of them may have been related, and this may have been related. And now I mentioned this with no disrespect to anyone, just putting it out there from what sources have told me, that's what actually happened. And so I'm wondering why, this wasn't mentioned, by police or anyone. I haven't heard it because I read about it. I didn't hear anything about it. Is there a reason why? Maybe they're just still investigating. They don't want to, speak too soon. But I just thought that people should know that's what happened, actually happened. I was under the impression that it was some guy that just accidentally got pinned by his car or something, and he did accidentally actually get pinned. But, there's more to that story, and I just thought that was interesting. So what are the elected officials doing to curb the gun violence here in the city of Yonkers? Is there a plan? Is there a strategy? Well, Kathy Hochul has a plan. Kathy Hochul, combating hate and preventing gun violence. The administration billed the announcement as the first in the nation endeavor that was intended to not only study the problem, but also provide money to fund jobs for at-risk youth as a means to steer them down a different path. And that's what we need. That's what we need. And, when I mention some of the programs that are constantly funded by the city of Yonkers, I'm not saying that just simply because I'm mad. I want some. No, it's not that. I'm just saying, what are the results? What do they actually do to steer kids away from, the streets? We have to engage them and meet them where they're at, right? So what are their interests? And some of these programs, I feel like they just are not going to capture the attention, especially of those that we need to get the attention of. The at-risk youth. Those that are, have a high probability of involving in a crime or getting arrested or, God forbid, getting killed. Those are the kids we need to reach. And some of the programs that they have here, which is why I mention it, it's not to talk about anyone specifically, because I don't even know who are the people that work for these programs. I really don't. I don't know their business. What I'm talking about is the results of that program overall. And how are they engaging kids who are at risk? And continue to engage them so they can steer them down a different path, right? So how do we do that? How do we do that? So that should be part of this strategy, right? That officials should be coming up with to curb this gun violence. We still have a month left, right? Over a month left of the summer, and plenty of time for more gun violence, more violence in general. So what are they doing to assure that we don't have another weekend like we saw just 2 weekends ago? Right. And so when I mentioned also organizations too, again, going back to that, some people had got upset about it, and said, Freddie, um, that's not the way you go about it, or, you're not perfect. And that's why I said, I know I'm not perfect. I'm not claiming to be, but these are organizations that receive money constantly to address a problem. And so what are the results? Are we just going to continue having weekends like we saw, right? Anyway, moving on, I want to talk about sex trafficking. This is crazy. Mount Vernon man arrested for allegedly sex trafficking teenager at Bronx and Brooklyn hotels. Sex trafficking is a huge problem. Huge problem. Why are we not talking about it more? This is, sometimes what I don't understand about society. People are so up in arms over the abortion thing. January 6th and Donald Trump. Oh, man. Right. But where's the energy? And where's everyone up in arms when it comes to sex trafficking and human trafficking? That is a huge problem. Kids are being kidnapped. Teenagers, young girls are being taken and then given drugs and used for prostitution. Where's the outcry? Where's the constant 24/7 media coverage on that? Because it's happening every day at a higher rate than abortion. How many kids go missing every year? And then, I was concerned a little bit about the planes that were flying into Westchester, bringing children in the middle of the night to go with sponsors from the border, right? No one questions that. Where are they going? Who are these sponsors that are taking these kids from the border? A Mount Vernon man could face at least 10 years behind bars for allegedly sex trafficking a minor. Ray Thomas, 27, was arrested for trafficking the teenager at hotels in the Bronx and Brooklyn. Disgusting. And I can't wait till he meets his maker. A U.S. attorney says Thomas exploited the girl who lived at an at-risk youth facility and forced her to engage in sexual activity for his own profit. The U.S. attorney believes there could be other victims. And that's a big, huge problem with these agencies. Kids are, put into these agencies and then they run off, or some of these agencies actually exploit them themselves, prostitute the kids out themselves. And it's happened before. There are plenty of stories of foster care agencies, group homes, prostituting the kids to prominent members of communities around the country, police officers, politicians. This is very real stuff. And so, I'm thinking of the Rising Ground organization that wanted to come and open up the St. Anne's building and bring kids from, the border and to house them there. And, and I wonder, why are we just taking random kids away, from their home country, away from any family, into this organization that's just really making a lot of money. And who knows what they're doing with them. And I'm not just accusing Rising Ground or saying them, I'm talking in general. Who knows what a lot of these organizations are doing with these children that they're taking from the border, bringing them here with no adults many times. We don't know where they're ending up. There's no record of these kids. So, this is something that we have to, consider and think about, right? At-risk use. And, many of the times it's kids who run away, have problems at home, maybe were in foster care, parents died, or, they were given up for adoption. They don't have any family. So they're the most vulnerable. They're easily manipulated by older individuals and they end up in these situations. And it's a horrible thing. 27-year-old man and from Mount Vernon, prostituting teenagers in the Bronx and in Brooklyn hotels. That's horrible and that's disgusting. And I hope they throw the book at him. But I just wanted to mention that because that's important for parents. Please be careful out there. Watch your kids. I see kids sometimes that look about my daughter's age walking by themselves. And I just couldn't imagine allowing my daughter just to go by herself anywhere at this age, to the store, anywhere by herself. I don't even like her really to go out to the front of the house and go, get something in the car alone, or if the car's in the driveway. I'm concerned about that. And I have security cameras and everything, but I'm just very concerned nowadays, and my kids, they didn't grow up like I grew up in the street, so they're not really street smart, street savvy. I watched for everybody. Everybody was suspicious to me, growing up. But parents, please, keep an eye on your kids. Just watch out for this because this is very real. My wife has had experience with it where two teenage girls on different occasions who attended the school that she had worked at were almost abducted. They were on their way to school. And the crazy thing is that the parent or the mom continued to let the girl walk to school by herself after that. No way. No way, man. I just think that's crazy. But anyway, folks, I didn't want to be on too long. I wasn't even going to come on. I wasn't really feeling good today. I wanted to talk about actually the January 6th. Listen, I understand, right? We're so divided on this Donald Trump January 6th deal. But a lot of the information is not being presented, and that's just a fact. As a Democrat, I'm a Democrat, never been a Republican, never. It's wrong. It's wrong, and we must know the truth. We should never allow our government to lie to us. It doesn't matter who is on the, receiving end of that lie, the getting the bad end of that lie, which in this case is those who went to the protests in January 6th, who are Republicans. What I find interesting is that the individual who attacked Lee Zeldin, a congressman, while on stage giving a speech with a weapon, was released without bail immediately. Yet individuals who entered the Capitol building that day protesting, who didn't harm anyone or attempt to injure anyone or assault anyone, they just simply walked into the Capitol building, were hunted down. Their homes raided in the middle of the night, and they were arrested and charged with felonies, some of them being held till this day for non-violent crimes, for simply trespassing. I don't get that. You have to see the hypocrisy there. How is it that that man who ran up on stage with some weapon tried to attacked Lee Zeldin, a congressman, got released right away? No bail, no nothing. A judge let him go. No psych evaluation, nothing. Yet individuals who walked in to the Capitol building were hunted down, charged with felonies, and are still, some of them anyway, in jail to this day. And Chuck Schumer, who is a big proponent of bail reform, has said nothing about that. Is it because it's Republicans who were arrested? A lot of the videos that I wanted to show tonight are horrible. I mean, regardless of how you feel, if you believe that, they went in there and they should be arrested, so should many of the police officers. There's video of police officers literally beating people for no reason. Literally, one officer pushes a man off the ledge. He falls 20 feet, had to be removed on a stretcher. That's not protocol. They were supposed to grab him and put handcuffs on him and arrest him, not push him off the ledge. A woman died in front of police. And while she was dead, a woman officer kept beating her with a baton as she was dead already. I find it interesting that Also, that 2 individuals died of heart attacks at the Capitol that day after a flashbang was thrown into the crowd, was shot into the crowd. And what most people don't understand is that when people started going nuts like that, it's after police shot flashbangs into the crowd. Those are those little grenade things that do the bright light and they make a loud noise. And that led to 2 individuals having heart attacks and dying right there, never recovered. Yet they were determined to have died of natural causes. But the police officer, the Capitol police officer, who died the next day of a heart attack, his death was labeled a homicide or the result of the January 6th protest. And so that's the cop that died. When the news media says protesters killed the police officer, or one cop died, that was that one cop. He died the next day of a heart attack, natural causes. Yet the media is saying he was killed as a result of January 6th. But the 2 individuals who were actually killed as a result of the flashbangs on January 6th, they were labeled natural causes, nothing to do with the police shooting flashbangs into a crowd, which when reviewed by experts, they all said they did not follow any known police protocol that day. Why did Nancy Pelosi ask for more police officers or take President Trump at the time's offer for 20,000 more or 20,000 National Guard troops, which were offered to her? The president cannot send in the National Guard. The governor of the state has to ask for that help. Otherwise, a president would be in violation of the Constitution by doing so. So he couldn't have sent them in. So people say, oh, why did he send them in? Had it been black people in BLM, they would have had them all in there. Well, if it were black people and or other minorities in BLM and they were there, it would have been at the request of Nancy Pelosi. There's videos of police officer waving people in, people who were arrested for trespassing. So those who are fighting it are going all the way because they're saying we were set up. It was entrapment. They waved us in and then we got arrested. So was it a setup? Folks, from the videos, the documentary that I saw, which is an unbiased documentary with experts who have no interest in blaming Democrats or blaming Republicans, give their expert opinion. Investigators who investigated it show video, cell phone footage that was not seen and is not shown on mainstream media. That's very, very important to see. It's very, very important to see. And again, as a Democrat, I'm going to stand by that because we must always hold our elected officials accountable and we must never allow them to create a lie like that. We can't let them get away with that, Democrat or Republican. At the end of the day, the people must stick together. And so the documentary that I watched basically stated that that whole thing looked like to be a setup, and it may have been to kill the MAGA movement. They saw an opportunity to make the MAGA movement look like a bunch of white supremacists and homegrown terrorists. And that was the idea. And that's why they encouraged them. Police officers, there's video of police officers encouraging, inciting, provoking individuals. Also, why have they not arrested all of the individuals that were there that day and on video? There's individuals there who are pulling the window, the glass, breaking glass, pulling it away from the windows and encouraging people to go in, yet they were never arrested. In fact, no one even knows their names. There are several individuals like that who seem to have been working in a team. You can see different videos of them in different locations throughout the Capitol working together in an organized fashion, holding doors open, breaking windows, and encouraging people to go in. Yet none of them were arrested. There are about 8 individuals who have never been caught, who did a lot of damage, yet no one's questioning or asking why. So there's a lot of stuff that I want to go over with that because I think it's important. It's not about Republican or Democrat. It's about knowing the truth, seeing all the information before you make your opinion or have an opinion on it. Regardless if you're a Democrat, you should watch it. You should watch the videos that I'm going to show before you go any further in believing that all the protesters who were there were a bunch of, white supremacists, terrorists who were trying to take over the government. That's crazy. That's crazy. And I want to show side-by-side video of that protest versus protests that were held by organizations like BLM to show the differences in how police engage the protesters. Because one of the things I've heard from a lot of people were, if that were BLM protesters, they would have got this, that, and the third. They would have got beat up. But they did. A lot of those protesters on January 6th got beat up. And there's plenty of video of it. They were tossed off ledges, off stairs by police. Police were literally firing the flashbangs, hitting people, which is dangerous. And that's not how you operate, though. But I want to show you the difference because you see the BLM protests where police are allowing people to riot, go into stores and loot, and nothing's happening. No one's being arrested. And it's just not fair, folks. And I just believe in fairness. I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics. Hopefully I can get on tomorrow with that episode. I think it's very important. And I want to put that information out there because a lot of people have not seen it. And I do get into debates with individuals about that. And it's just, oh, hey, Trump, you're just a Trump supporter. No. I'm a supporter of the truth. I'm a supporter of the facts. Wherever they may lead me, that's where I'm going to end up. I'm Freddy Vazquez. Have a great night, folks. Join me tomorrow. Peace out. Thank you. Oh, I got some comments here. Sorry, folks. J6 is CEO. What's that mean? Complete BS. Absolutely. I believe it was a setup. They even had people dressed with Trump MAGA gear on, but create so much chaos. Never arrested. Yes. Yes, that Mr. Epps guy, Ray Epps was the guy's name, who was inciting people. He was there the day before, and he's on video telling people, we're going to go into the Capitol building tomorrow. Everybody needs to go in. He's planning this, right? It's premeditated with this gentleman by the name of Ray Epps, yet he was never arrested. He was in there, yet he was never arrested. Why? Why? Folks, this happened. This is real. The Black Panthers, they had people infiltrate them. Every organization, every group, the FBI, CIA infiltrates them. That's what they do. So definitely they were set up. I totally believe that. And, there were people dressed with MAGA hats who were not Trump supporters or MAGA supporters. And there's video, and I'm going to show it also. You can actually see people changing their clothes. Right after a woman was shot in cold blood, an unarmed white woman shot by a black police officer. His name was never released by the media, withheld till this day, never investigated, and it's clear as day that it's cold-blooded murder and nothing. But if that were, and I'm going to say it, if that were a situation, and we've seen it before when an innocent unarmed black man was shot by a white cop, there's no way that the media was going to withhold that police officer's name. Their face and name would be plastered all over every channel. People will be calling for that person's head, that officer's head. So we have to see that hypocrisy, and it bothers me because the Democrats, and as a Democrat, I'm like, I feel almost ashamed. So hypocritical. Democrats are so hypocritical. And they don't really care about us. They're using us, Hispanics and blacks and even whites. They're using us. That's their game. And I'm not saying the Republicans are much better. But it seems like nowadays, whatever Republican says is law. Whatever Republican says is morally right always, is ethical always, no matter how hypocritical or wrong it may be. You can't even question the government or the Democrats without being labeled a Republican, a Trump supporter, a racist. They're calling for people who disagree with Joe Biden to be canceled, to be fired. What kind of society are we living in where you can't give your opinion? Because if it disagrees with the mainstream narrative, you're viewed as a terrorist, as a racist, or as something negative. And then you get the group think and the group mentality, the mob mentality, and people ganging up on people. You can't even give your opinion about abortion. I gave my opinion about those gel pellet guns on the New York Police Department's 44th precinct page. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those Nerf-like guns where they shoot the gel pellets. Well, kids have been freezing them up. And so they're like pellets now. They're like the metal pellets now, and shooting each other. They can cause injury and have. They damage property and have. And so I said this because police banned them in the city, and you should have seen all these people go, oh, police are so stupid. They don't have nothing better to do. Oh, banning toys, what dummies. Oh my God. Oh, let's ban toys. But if they're causing damage to property and hurting people, injuring people, which they have, then yeah, maybe they should ban them, because obviously people cannot have these things without it being a problem. So people just attacked me. Oh, you're one guy called me a loser because I gave that opinion. Really? I'm a loser? I'm a loser because I understand why the police may ban them? I've seen it myself. There were kids coming from Saunders shooting those things all over each other, and I could hear them hitting off the cars and glass. And so you get this group and this mob of people to attack you because they're all so righteous and so right. We support women's rights. You're taking away women's rights when that's not even what happened. The courts just put it back to the states. That's all. They didn't take it away. But everybody's all upset. But then no one cares the fact that I'm just simply saying, hey, there's a life there. And in fact, the individual who brought abortion to America and made it legal here through his studies and research, which he admitted finally that it was all a lie just to get the support of Congress and the American people, but that a fetus is a living thing. And he became a pro-life activist. This is the guy who brought abortion to America, and because of him, it became legalized. He later admitted that he lied. So it's a life that's being snuffed out, and people are attacking me. This mob mentality, it's like people don't even think anymore. And we've gotten to a really bad place in this country. It's really bad. We need to take a step back and start to think and talk to each other with some respect and civility. I'm Freddy Vazquez. Let me get up out of here. They even want to arrest anyone who shared Hunter Biden's porno with kids. Right. They censored that. I don't care if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican or what. It's not okay for Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, not to be arrested for child pornography. It's funny, Brian Harrod, or whatever the hell your name is. He accuses me of that. But here, there's a big story right here that he can write about. Hunter Biden's laptop. It's a fact. There are pictures. It's been verified. It's just not being talked about. Because the media, big tech, and the Democratic Party, along with organizations like BLM, and it's not a black thing, BLM is not controlled by anyone black. That's a fact. And you know, as a community, blacks should say, hey, enough is enough of being used by non-blacks for their own gain, because how much have blacks achieved since the start of BLM? Who's gained off the success of the BLM's fundraising because they've generated billions? I'll tell you who. Joe Crime Bill Biden, the man who put thousands and thousands of black men in jail, hurting black families for generations. And that's a fact because the ACLU did a report on it. The ACLU. They did a report on the harm that Joe Biden did to thousands of black families and to generations of black families. Yet he received $92 million from BLM and people supported him. The effects of his crime bill are still being felt by the black community to this day. And that's a fact. So we have to take a step back and think, really, what's going on here? You know, and so that's all I want. That's all I'm saying to people. You know, you have to think. Does the FBI have it? Absolutely. They've known it. The FBI knew about the laptop before the elections. And they purposely kept it on the wraps because they knew it was going to hurt him in the primaries, Joe Biden. They've known about this. The FBI is corrupt. They're compromised. The CIA, forget it. They're rogue. They've been rogue forever. The Fed is not a private entity. It's a bunch of bankers who met on Jekyll Island in the early 30s and created this Fed, Federal Reserve Bank, and have now put us all in this debt system that they created. So every time they send billions of dollars to the Ukraine, like they just recently sent $14 billion to the Ukraine, we have to pay that back with interest because it was borrowed from the Fed. Not Joe Biden, who approved it, and anyone else on his staff. The average tax-paying person and our children and grandchildren will be paying for that. But go ahead. Let's go to Ukraine. That's right. Never been so eager to go into Africa and save some of the children and people there who have been exterminated by rebels and guerrilla armies, or the Palestinians who, if you just go online, you can find videos of Israeli bulldozers crushing through their houses as they're running out with their children in their hands, in their arms. But no one's ever cared about that. Look at a map of Palestine from 1946 and look at it now. It's genocide. So if you don't say anything about the Palestinians, I don't want to hear you say anything about the Native Americans and Christopher Columbus, or Ukraine for that matter, because you can't pick and choose when you're going to be righteous. And that's all I'm saying. Let's be real. Just to be honest, the information's out there. You can't allow CNN and even Fox or any of these corporate news stations to educate you. Nowadays, we can't even allow our educational system to educate us. We have to be proactive in our own education. Otherwise, we're not going to be educated. We're going to be indoctrinated, and there's a huge difference. No one is free until everyone is free. Absolutely. And unfortunately, some people don't realize that they're not free. And this is what gets me upset sometimes with certain people. It's like you don't see it, and we need you to see it in order for all of us to be able to get to a better place. Right? Because we're headed for war. Are you seeing what's going on around the world? Leaders are resigning or being overthrown. Russia is positioning itself, opening up one of its old Antarctic bases recently. Iran is firing missiles in Iraq near the U.S. consulate like, we don't care, let's do this. We're headed for World War III. The economy is going to collapse. I'm telling you, folks, worried about abortion and January 6th. We don't realize that those are all distractions. We're being distracted. Oh, and guess what? China is now taking going off the petrodollar and accepting other forms of currency for oil. Oh, I'm sorry. Iran, is accepting the Chinese currency for oil. No more petrodollar. They're saying screw the West. If that happens and it begins to become a trend, the US dollar is going to go bye-bye. It's going to be worthless, which it really is. But the petrodollar, oil, is what's kept the dollar strong, because we militarily have forced countries to purchase oil, no matter which country, to purchase the oil in US dollars. So that meant that every country who needed oil had to keep US dollars in reserve. So that created a demand for US dollars, which then increased the value of the dollar. But when they no longer need that and they say, screw US dollars, we're going to burn them because we don't need them, that's going to affect us here. And so that's why they're trying to go to this all electric and climate change. That's the rush, because they see that that's happening. They see that Russia is saying, screw you. And that's why we're there, because we don't want that. Well, now the United States government doesn't want Russia saying, screw you, China, screw you. But it's happening anyway. And so they're rushing to go green. But it's really all about going electric, because that way they can control that. They control that power grid, right? Control electricity. We don't need the oil no more. Create a new economic system based off going green and all electric. That's what it's all about. Converting to a new system. So anyway, I'm Freddy Vazquez. Yeah, so just you got to read between the lines. You got to read between the lines. You got to, some of it is just right there. It's obvious, Again, why is it that individual who attacked a congressman with a weapon while he's giving a speech live on TV is released instantly, charged with a misdemeanor, by the way, while individuals who entered the Capitol building on January 6th have been charged with felonies and some are still in jail? Think about that. I'm Freddy Vazquez. I'm up out of here. Thank you, folks. Have a great night. Peace out. Have a happy Tuesday. No, wrong button. I am Freddy Vazquez. That was Basement Politics for tonight, Monday, July 25th, 2022. Jeez, I went about 20 minutes too long. Supposed to be quick today, but when we get into talking about things like January 6th, geopolitical issues, or I just can go on and on, talk about the economy. I can go on and on, history, go on, and that's important. We must know these things. History does repeat itself, and there's a lot of things that are repeating themselves now. So I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics. Thank you for watching and supporting. And join me tomorrow. I'm going to show some of that January 6th stuff. Have a great night.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vazquez.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vazquez.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddy Vazquez.
Freddy.